Okay, and as far as the rest of the studios go, there was a lot of news, so I'm just going to run down a few things and we can just kind of jump into it here. So, Lionsgate announced an animated John Wick prequel directed by Shannon Tindle and with Keanu Reeves expected to voice the titular character. Chad Stahelski is developing John Wick 5 with Reeves returning, and Donnie Yen will direct and star in a spinoff. Sam Mendes revealed that all four Beatles biopic films will be released in April of 2028. Set to star in the films are Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Joseph Quinn as George Harrison, and Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr. Each of the four movies will focus on one of the members. Danny Boyle unveiled the 28 years later trailer and confirmed Nia DaCosta directed its sequel, The Bone Temple. He also noted financing for the third film is still pending, urging fans to support the first two. And lastly, Universal showed off a trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth that has not been made available to the public, but stars Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and director Gareth Edwards took to the stage to voice their love and enthusiasm for the franchise.
I'm just going to talk about two of these things. The Beatles biopic thing is still so fascinating. 4 films coming out in 3 years is kind of interesting. I do think the casting is pretty on point for all of these iconic rock stars. I know that's like a really tall order, and so you have to kind of feel for them that they're going to get totally harangued by people who just don't want to see something like this. But when you look at the 4 of them and that's still together, like you can kind of see it. You can kind of see the Beatles. So
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by this project. And then the 28 years later thing, which is not something I would normally talk about, but when I recently saw a movie, the teaser trailer was premiered, or not premiered, but played before the film I was seeing, and it is haunting. It has this like countdown nuclear feel. There's this very menacing voiceover that's, I should have done my research, but it's got to be quoting something specific. I probably sound like an idiot, but it was like very disturbing. And so I think that fans of that will probably be really happy. So those are the two things that stuck out to me on this stuff.
I should have looked it up before I chimed in, but I'm fairly certain it's a poem by Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, okay, yes, that makes sense. I did see that like after, but my brain is leaky this week.
The Beatles thing is wild. The April of 2028 is what's getting me, that they're going to release all 4 films in April of 2028, which I find totally fascinating. At first, I'm thinking, like, it doesn't seem like a great move. Like, you're asking people to go to the theater 4 times in a month, which basically you're asking them to go every weekend for a month to see this different movie. But I also think it's one of those things, like, if you see the first one, you kind of are going to naturally want to see the next 3, because why would you only watch 1 or 2? You're getting only 25% of the story if you only watch 1. So it seems like you have to sign up for all 4 if you're going to sign up for it. So I think it's a really just interesting experiment in film and cinema, and I think it's a really ambitious project. I love the casting across. Like, I think the casting is wonderful for this, and I love all 4 of those guys in those particular roles. So I love the idea of shooting from different perspectives, but I just kind of remain sort of like eyebrow raised a little bit as to putting them all out in a month. But at the same time, it wouldn't make sense to put them all out a year apart from one another either. So I guess I see the logic in trying to capitalize it on as a moment, as like a shared experience, as like a 4 or I guess it'd be like a 8-hour experience or something broken up over the course of a month. I think is really interesting. And then the John Wick, it's a lot of John Wick, I gotta say. We're here in the next so we have 4 John Wick movies. We have the Continental, the series that came out. We have Ballerina getting ready to come out. Now you're going to have John Wick 5 plus an animated John Wick movie plus the Donnie Yen spinoff. And it's a lot of John Wick. I mean, they are really doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this franchise. And I think it is a popular franchise. I do wonder, is it too much John Wick? Like, are people losing their appetite for that franchise, especially as you start to get into other mediums like animation and you start to get into spin-off characters? The Continental, for example, was a pretty forgettable series, and it was not very watched across the board. So you know, it's you got to wonder, and I think Ballerina will tell a little bit of that tale. Like, how popular will that movie be? If we look at it and we're saying, yeah, it's looking pretty good, it's making a lot of money, it's got a high cinema score, it's got good reception, good ratings, then I think we can say, all right, yeah, this franchise has got legs outside of Keanu Reeves leading it on screen. But I think, again, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that people will turn out for John Wick stuff that doesn't really feature the character of John Wick. So we'll have to wait and see. And it should be noted, too, that Keanu Reeves spoke at length about how it was very hard for him to do this character because of his knees, that he is literally, when he's in those movies doing those stunt scenes, he looks so tired by the end. He's panting and sweating. He's actually panting and sweating. He's actually tired because he's older. Right. So, you know, I guess they roped him back in to do a fifth movie, which if you've seen John Wick 4, you're kind of like, how? But you know, questions will be answered, I suppose.
So you might say we're in the thick of the Wick.
Right? Ew, I don't like that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I agree with everything that you said regarding John Wick, Jay, but I want to hone in on the animated series because I feel like that is the thing that just excites me the most. I agree with you. I think there's the potential for some fatigue when it comes to John Wick. Like I said, I never checked out the Continental, but I am interested in the theatrical offerings. Now, an animated series, like...
I think too. I should pop in real quick. I think the animation is it will be a film.
Oh,
we don't know if it'll be in theaters or not, like War of the Rohirrim style or not. But I think it is a film.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. But regardless, I think this is a franchise that lends itself to animation depending on the style. Like I could really see with the gung fu and the hyper stylized violence, like if you lean into like an anime style that might be like cell shaded or something like that, it could look really sleek and really cool. So I would be down for it. Now, the Beatles story got a lot of love, but all you need is love, right? So I'll chime in on that one too. I do think the release strategy is fascinating because to both your points, like what is that going to look like? I imagine they have to do some kind of staggered release. Now, would they lead with Paul or John? I think that makes the most sense. But I think from a business standpoint, if you actually lead with George or Ringo, that's going to, you know, get more people to turn out for those Beatles and then, you know, maybe go the distance and say, oh, I'll you know, come back for my favorites in Paul or John. But yeah, it'll be really interesting when we get the box office reportings. If it's like, hey, the John Lennon opened at number 1, Paul McCartney's at number 2, and then the other 2 don't make it in the top 10 or something like that. It's like, I'm just saying, you know, that seems to be the general sentiment when it comes to people's favorite Beatles. But
I wonder too if you'll be able to buy like a ticket bundle. Like I would imagine, like your theater, your local theater, it would make a ton of sense. Like if I'm a theater, I'm saying come buy all 4 of these at one time and get a discount, because then that assures you will show up for all 4, rather than only, you know, every week. Maybe you can't this week, maybe you can't next week or whatever. So yeah. I would imagine we'll see some kind of bundle to where you could get like a nice percentage off if you buy all 4 at once.
Yeah, definitely. If they're not thinking that, they should be. So
hey, I'm just giving these ideas out for free over here.
Yeah. I'll bring it home by addressing the Jurassic World Rebirth footage there. It would be nice if that was made public, but the thing that I really that stood out to me is Scarlett Johansson. And I wasn't there at the event, obviously, so I'm reading all of her words secondhand, but I really did get the impression that this is a franchise that she's been trying to be a part of for a long time. Like, I guess, you know, she does demand a certain paycheck, so that was kind of an issue prior, but at this point she said, you know, whatever it takes, even if I'm only in the first 5 minutes and you want to kill me off, I just want to be a part of this franchise. So with that kind of enthusiasm, and we know that David Koepp is coming back after a long absence, I think the pieces are coming together for a really great Jurassic entry. We'll see. All right, and we are going to pause for a break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we got so much for you in the lightning round. We got Universal, Amazon, Lionsgate, and Paramount CinemaCon offerings, some of which we've already talked about, but there's way more to talk about. There's live action Legend of Zelda news. Hot D Season 3 begins filming. And David Fincher is set to direct a Tarantino script. Stay tuned.